Jeff, always such a pleasure to see you, my friend. We were talking, and I think, right now, obviously, you and I both know a lot of sales professionals and leaders, and honestly, just different people at different stages of their career. And it's a challenging time. I think we're seeing a lot more burnout, and people being fried or just not really knowing what that next step is. There's obviously inflation and ambiguity in the market, and at the same time, price hikes, and while our customers are often strapped to have budgets. So I know that the selling landscape looks very different, and a lot of sellers and sales leaders are at their wits' end. What say you? What are your thoughts on how do you identify and battle and hopefully alleviate burnout?
Yeah, great question. Good to see you again. I don't know if I'm the right one to ask because I'm kind of an emotional guy, but like anyone else, trying my best. And I think, like with anything, you and I have talked about this so many times. I think the number one thing is first you need to ask yourself, like, why? Like, why are you feeling this way? Because there's a lot of different types of burnout. You can get burnout because of dynamics of a team you're working within. You could feel burnout because of not feeling appreciated, maybe. You could feel burnt out because you're kind of riding the roller coaster of the good times and the bad times, and you're going through bad times. And I think that, the answer to that question ultimately dictates, excuse me, we gotta move a cat, ultimately dictates kind of like what you do about it, right? Because the source of the stress and the source of like what's making you feel that way ultimately will dictate like how you go about addressing that. In the case of like the roller coaster of sales, you just need to remind yourself there was life before the bad time, there's life after it. It's happened before, it'll happen again. We've talked about locus of control, a million times. What's in my locus of control? If it's out of my locus of control, can I actually worry about it if I can't fix it? So those things are important. I think that in certain companies too, you can communicate to your peers you're feeling a certain way. Maybe not in every company. I think in some cultures, if you tell people you're feeling a certain way or you're burnt out, maybe it doesn't work out well for you. But if you have the culture, the right culture where you can calmly explain how you're feeling and not level an accusation and say like, hey, you're stressing me out, but just say, hey, I'm feeling stressed out, or I'm feeling overwhelmed. I think that helps people to understand where you're coming from. I think getting it off your chest is a good thing. Just sometimes you just feel good when other people know how you feel. And there's some comfort, I think, and something soothing about just other people being aware. And the last thing is one that people probably think about all the time is, at least for me, like I manage my schedule to a T, and there's like non-negotiable things in my schedule that I make sure I do. I mean, I'm training for the marathon right now. I quite literally need to get the runs in every single day, well, most days, or I'm not going to complete it. And so those are on my calendar. They're non-negotiable. They're cathartic for me. It's a time away from what I'm doing. I don't have to worry about stress when I'm doing that. And there's other things in our lives that, you got a family, Carson. I'm sure you carve out time for your wife and your kids. These are non-negotiable things for you. And they are time away from feeling burnt out, hopefully in the professional setting. So those are some of the things that I do, and some of the things I think about. You've been doing this longer than me. I'm sure you've got more burnout than I have, so I want to hear what you do.
I'm definitely older, yes, without question. Yeah, I think you hit on a lot of phenomenal points there, Jeff. I think the key element is first off to acknowledge this feeling. There's a lot of ways that it can hit you. It just can be complete and utter exhaustion, or just a joyless state. I mean, even around stuff that brings you joy, like normally, you just have a joyless state because you're just kind of pushed to limits, and a lot of these things that some of the things oftentimes that are out of your control are the ones that are, dragging you down, or the things that, that you enjoy doing are being dwarfed by those that you don't enjoy doing. And you just get kind of caught in that muck. And it's easy to get in a slump. It's easy to get into kind of a series of events where it like feels like Groundhog Day, pun intended. And it's just you have to do something to get back to the fundamentals and back to basics and back to who you are. So I think the first and foremost thing that I try to do is just shrink my bubble, and I start to think about my locus of control. Now, one of the things that I can definitely control is who I connect with and who I talk to about it. And I'm usually stay pretty guarded with a lot of this stuff. I mean, there can be some folks that are trusted or mentors or strong relationships. Definitely my wife, and I'll tell her and kind of walk through these things. And I'll tell you, first off, if I'm able to express myself in that capacity, I immediately feel a little alleviation, right? That some of that tightness goes away because I'm able to unload it a little bit. I'm not just holding it tight inside, trying to fend off, all of my fear of not being good enough or letting people down, et cetera. So that's step one. Step two is that ruthless discipline to scheduling. And, what you hit on around non-negotiables. It's like, look, I got stuff I have to get done. However, if I look at my day and there's things that, maybe are not must-haves, maybe I got to chuck it to tomorrow, right? So I always try to kind of, again, in part of that shrinking my bubble, I look at that immediate, like what's right ahead of me. Where might I get a little bit of alleviation? That's step two. Step three for me. So, like trying to infuse some more of your passions into your day. I know some of the things that can make a big difference for me, and they're not always possible, right? I mean, I'm really busy. I've got a big family, so I'm typically pulled in a lot of different directions. But what I can control is I can get up a little bit earlier than everybody else, so I can, hit my gym and listen to some tunes or an audiobook or something that kind of resets me, and that makes all the difference in the world. So knowing what it is that kind of refuels you, even like when you're running on fumes, and kind of even get you enough in the tank to make it through that immediate next stretch, that's super important. And lastly, I think it's also just being mindful of the whole being. Like, I think I'd be remiss not to point out that, like, depending on your level of severity, there might be additional help that you need, right? So I think it's important to be cognizant that, like, it's okay to ask for help. And if it's at a state where like every day is like an absolute excruciating grind, you probably might want to talk to somebody, right? So we're just being really mindful of kind of where you are in that spectrum. It's very normal to feel feelings of burnout. And I think as leaders, oftentimes we can set the tone for the culture within our organization of making sure that people feel comfortable expressing that they're burnt out, that they need some help. Maybe they need to step away. Maybe they need some time off to reset, recharge, whatever it is. And then, frankly, just being mindful as a leader that there are people in your organization that, who should I be checking in with, and who should I be maybe super cognizant that a lot's been happening in their personal and their professional life, and just making sure that they're getting the time that they might need, or also that they feel like that they're in a spot where they could tell me about these things as a leader. Like, there's a lot of responsibility that I think falls onto the shoulders of leadership in this space, because you set the tone for your organization. How comfortable are they going to feel in these times of burnout? Getting help, or even being able to communicate with you and others about that state of being. So those are some of my thoughts. At the end of the day, like, my best advice is it always gets better. So take a hard look at some of the things that we talked about on today's session, and definitely apply those in your lives. It gets better. It's gonna take some work, and it's gonna take some doing, and it's gonna take some time. And your way of grappling with burnout, alleviating burnout, is going to look different than Jeff's or mine. But definitely hoping that you're able to get the relief and the rest that you need.
What tunes do you listen to?
Depends. If I'm looking to just chill, it's Frank Sinatra, the Eagles, something super chill, super classy. If I'm looking to like pump myself up, it might be a little Journey, a little Don't Stop Believing, a little Eye of the Tiger, something. Or if I want to get my kids singing in with me, it might be like something like, Started from the Bottom, Now We're Here. And you just never know. There's so many great songs out there that can put you in a better frame of mind. And honestly, music, like, statistically, scientifically proven to put you in a better mood.
That's very true. I love it. Yeah, great jams. Great jams.
Beautiful stuff. We should make a playlist.
Yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah,
The
burnout.
burnout ballads. I see it
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So write in, audience, if you're checking us out today. Why don't you drop in the chat your must-have tunes to put you in a better mood.
Perfect. Can't wait.
Beautiful. All right, Jeff. Well, hey, always a pleasure, my friend, and great chat. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.